Welcome to the Warsqared Fantasy Football Podcast, a full-service year-round podcast with weekly episodes to provide fans with info on their teams and players. Whether you're a newbie or a longtime veteran of the fantasy wars, Warsqared is the podcast for you. And welcome in. We're at Super Bowl week. It's Chiefs and the Eagles. It's the Super Bowl matchup is set 5:37, I believe, Sunday afternoon. We will get this live from Phoenix.
Yep, right after Chris Stapleton does the first bet of the Super Bowl with the length of the national anthem, which is set at 2:06, I believe, is the over-under right now.
Okay.
I'm more concerned about the golf tournament beforehand, watching the 17th hole at the Phoenix Open.
What's the over-under on beers consumed in a week there?
How
many truckloads?
I think they were literally trucks leaving Wichita now from the brewery going there to drop beer off.
Yeah. I've got some buddies that go to that. And
The Phoenix Open?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that one of these years we can get 4 or 5 of us together to go down to the Phoenix Open, play golf all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, go to the tournament on Sunday, then find some place to go watch the big game on that Sunday night, then fly back on Monday.
There's a nice timeshare there that I've got. So.
Hey.
So you're doing it all wrong, though. You don't want to go on Sunday to the golf tournament. You want to go on Thursday or Friday when everybody's coming through. There's no cut been made, and they're there all day.
That is
true. They
true.
go off both nines.
That is true.
Come on, man.
Sorry.
Stick with me. I'll degenerate it up for you.
I'm an amateur at this. I had a patient who went there about 6 years ago, and he said he literally walked out with a brand new set of golf clubs. As the vendors would come through and just give things. Here's a coupon for this. Here's a coupon for that. As the people who they endorsed came and teed off and played. He said he didn't have to buy a golf ball for 2 years.
It's a pretty good deal.
Nice.
That's a great deal.
They'd have to give you a couple truckloads for you not to need to buy one for 2 years.
and probably 2 coupons for each club as I throw them in that type of stuff.
So we'll jump right into breaking news / injuries that are going on. Tom Brady retired the morning after our last recording. He will not join Fox this year or be on their Super Bowl coverage. And if it stands, he and J.J. Watt will go into the Hall of Fame the same year. Now, part of this, too, is Tommy told Tommy Sr., I'm getting tired of getting hit.
Now, if Brady stays retired
I don't think
through
so.
the end of March, there's one guarantee we can make is Aaron Rodgers will play this year. Because there's no way in hell Aaron Rodgers wants to share the stage with Tom Brady as he goes into the Hall of Fame. He wants
100%.
He wants his own day, his own celebration, his own coronation, which means if Tommy B plays this year, Aaron Rodgers is going to play this year and next year.
You're not wrong.
So, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, we'll just jump down the notes a little bit here. He's possibly a favorite now for the Raiders. Devontae calls it a dream scenario to have Rodgers in there. Devontae did the discount double check celebration when he caught a touchdown in the Pro Bowl games, the flag football. And Josh Jacobs is interested if Aaron Rodgers would come there in staying, although I think Jacobs is going to get tagged. And in addition to that, Rodgers said during his win at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am that he's not going to San Fran.
Did you hear what he said? One of the fans was talking to him on one of the tees while they were waiting, and they said, Hey, Raj, Devontae misses you. He wants you to come to Vegas. Rodgers just kind of tongue-in-cheek didn't look at him, but just under his breath said, tell him to buy me a house. He's got all that money now. So, is that collusion?
Like Aaron doesn't have any money at all.
Is Devontae now a realtor in Vegas too? Maybe?
Might be. Of course, I hear David Carr's house is for sale.
Yeah, I bet you could get a deal.
David Carr or Derek Carr? Derek Carr is the Raiders quarterback. David
Carr
is his brother who played with the Giants.
What's funny, when Aaron Rodgers ruled San Francisco, I said, they passed on me once, I'm going to pass on them this time.
Yeah, I totally don't blame him at all. I wouldn't go there. The other thing that a lot of people are saying about this is San Francisco is ready-made. If Rodgers goes there and they don't win the Super Bowl,
it's because Rodgers sucks.
It's all going to be on him. It's all going to be his fault. If he goes to the Raiders and they don't win the Super Bowl, it's like, they're the Raiders. They play in the same division as the Chiefs and the Chargers. And the Broncos now, who have Sean Payton, so they should be better.
Maybe not this year.
Well, so jumping on Sean Payton, he's headed to Denver on a 5-year deal worth approximately $18 million a year. Russ Wilson is losing the office that he had and personal coaches and his performance team. Sean Payton said, "Nah, we don't do that with our players here."
Yeah, Sean basically said, you ain't get nothing but you're a teammate, not a team.
So the price for Peyton's basically $100 million over 5,
Mm-hmm.
plus a first and a second. Oh, by the way, you get a third back.
Yeah, that's a pretty steep price to pay because
Better win early.
the Broncos ain't got no draft capital this year. They ain't got no salary cap this year. Well, they got minimal salary cap. They're not going to be any better, folks. They lost a defensive coordinator that everybody loved that kept him in most of the games.
Can you extend Peyton to free up some cap space?
Yeah,
Asking for a friend.
the Broncos have $6.6 million in cap space.
That's chump change for what they
Effective cap
need.
space.
That's not going to help. That's not going to go very far.
Not going to go very far at all. And there's not a whole lot they can do with Russ's new contract kicking in and going to be taking up 1/5 of the salary cap.
Yeah, it just finally starts this year, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty brutal. Now, the only other thing I'll say about Sean Payton is I believe that the Saints were 3-13 or 4-12 the year before he got there, and then were 13-3 or 12-4 the year after.
Didn't this guy named Drew Brees show up at the same time?
He did, but he really wasn't Sean Payton, Drew Brees
Would you rather
the
have-
first year.
Who would you rather have, Drew Brees at that time or Russ Wilson now?
Yep. The other side of that question is, what did that division look like then?
Oh, yeah, it was ugly.
I mean, there
mean,
was a
you
lot of home cooking in the division there.
The Chris Sims led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not even going to, as the Jake Del Home Carolina Panthers. And then that would have been the tail end of the Aaron Rodgers or the Brett Favre Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
No,
I was thinking
Packers and Jags.
Yeah, not
Not the Jags.
the Falcons, who I can't remember.
Falcons.
No,
that would have been.
Brett Favre was already gone by that
Yeah,
point in time.
that would have. No, Brett Favre didn't leave until 2007 or 2008.
Oh no, he won Super Bowls in Green Bay in the early 2000s.
Because Aaron Rodgers drafted in 2004 and set for 3 years.
Yeah, but Brett Favre was not in Atlanta at that time.
No. And it would have been Atlanta. Thanks for correcting that. That would have been the Michael Vick years
Yes.
Okay.
before
We had Michael Vick before the dogfighting took place.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Well, while it was taking place, but before he got caught.
And that was the power. They were the powerhouse in that division at that time.
Yeah.
As soon as Mike Vick got caught, convicted,
Katie bar the door.
We had Matt Ryan, and I think 2006 became the first pick in the draft. 2008 became the first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they also had a little bit more talent than what they have in Denver at that point in time.
He's not going into that cupcake division now.
No,
So,
he's going
I
into
don't,
their-
I don't see 13-4 in the future for Denver.
They are clearly
No.
the fourth best team in that division. And I would probably take a couple other teams I'd take Alabama college team over them right now.
Well, I'd take them over the Raiders right now because we don't know the Raiders quarterback situation isn't solved. If the Raiders end up going rookie,
I still take the Raiders over them because
Raiders have a
Russ Wilson
coach
is that
yet?
bad. No, they do not have. You mean the Raiders?
Yeah.
They have a coach. McDaniel's still their coach.
Like I said, do the Raiders have a coach yet?
Yeah, they do. McDaniel's is a good coach.
he's all right. Now, Sean Payton also likes George Payton, who is the GM there, so that's not going to be an issue. He's already brought in Zach Streif, former lineman for the Saints, as the offensive line coach. Brian Flores is going to Minnesota as defensive coordinator, which basically means that he was informed he was not getting the Cardinals head coaching job. He was one of the 3 finalists for that position.
And they have the Cardinals and what other team has not named a coach yet? Oh, Indianapolis hasn't yet to name a coach. Although they're supposedly leaning towards Jeff Saturday after an extensive search.
Wow. I need to call the owner up there real quick. I'm still available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they
The
really
coach will be the GM.
I'll change my name to Sunday. I mean, wouldn't you rather have a dude named Sunday than Saturday? Then more important when
or Monday or Thursday
Or
or
anything like that. Yes.
just call me Bubba.
Just call me.
now the Cardinals are down to Lou Anarumo and Mike Kafka. So Anarumo, of course, defensive coordinator of the Bengals. Kafka, the new offensive coordinator, former player for the Giants. So there's a lot of thought going around right now. Both they and the Colts may be holding to see what happens this weekend, because it's certainly nicer to hire the winning coordinator of the Super Bowl team. And you're looking at Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, Eric Bieniemy. I don't think that, I lost his name, the defense coordinator for the Chiefs.
Spagnuolo?
Spagnuolo.
No, he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he's a DC for life, I think, at this point.
Well, he's realized his role.
Yeah.
He had his head coaching job and failed at it. He realizes he's a top 5 defensive coordinator. I'm good here. I'm getting paid like I was a head coach. I'm good.
Yeah, and he doesn't want the brain damage of dealing with offense and special teams. Let me stay in my lane and be as exotic as I want, scheming stuff up. I mean, he's a perfect fit for Andy Reid, opposite.
Yes.
Reid goes mad scientist on one end of the building, Spags on the other, and then they bounce it off each other and be like, "Oh, I'd shred this here," or "This is a weakness."
It's a great team.
So the thought there is one of those coordinators could end up with either the Arizona or the Indianapolis jobs. But I would think that Anarumo is the one who's got to be the one at the top of the list if they don't go with the hot coordinator off the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, Bieniemy has yet to receive. There's one team that requested to interview Bieniemy this year, and that was Tennessee as an offensive coordinator. They have received no other request for an interview with Bieniemy this year.
Now, the two Eagles coordinators
Are both hot.
But nobody requested the interview during their off week. So after that, they're not interviewing.
Actually, I thought I saw Bieniemy interviewed with the Colts.
I think he did.
The article read that they did not list his name as somebody who they interviewed.
Yeah, I remember seeing a statement from the Colts that they had completed the process with.
They had like 8 names listed. There were people that interviewed going through the process, and Bieniemy's name was not on that list that I read today.
Okay. Another offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, who was a consultant, I guess, for the Cowboys this past season, is now their offensive coordinator.
And that might actually be a really good thing because he has imagination, he has ability, and he's got to be better than Kellen Moore.
Yeah, but he was already in the building, so how much impact did he really have?
He didn't get a call plays.
Part of the thing that I heard is that Mike McCarthy really does not want to call plays. He wants to be out of that and be able to focus on the full aspect of the team versus being there to call plays.
He wants to be the guy who makes the final call, but not the call.
Right. And there have been years that I've referred to Brian Schottenheimer as Brian Shoddy Coachenheimer. He is, in my opinion, is not a fantasy friendly.
No, he's going to run. He's going to run the ball like his dad did. He's from the old school of smash mouth football, which is what the Dallas Cowboys need to be able to do. Keep the ball in Dak's hand as much as possible.
Now, last week, Vic Fangio finally said, yes, he's going to be the defensive coordinator in Miami, so we shut the door there. Joe Woods is going to be the new defensive coordinator for the Saints. Ejiro Evero left Denver and has ended up as the Panthers defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deuce Staley, I couldn't find what he's been named, but he left running backs coach in Detroit to go join Frank Reich's staff.
I think he's the offensive. I think he's the rushing game coordinator.
Okay, so he's going to be there running stuff on offense for the Panthers. Scott Turner, later the Commodes, as their offensive coordinator. He's now the Raiders passing game coordinator.
Hold on. He was in Washington. They didn't throw the ball very well. Now he's in Oakland in Las Vegas as a passing game coordinator.
Well,
he got qualified for that.
Yeah, it's probably one of those. It's the Norv Turner system. So they're going to want something about how to get the deep passing game going. I mean, we could have had it, but we didn't have anybody that could throw it that far downfield. We have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel that can get downfield, but we don't have anybody that could throw it that far. Wentz couldn't get it there, couldn't be healthy.
And you still don't.
He doesn't have the arm to do it. I don't think Howell had the arm to do it, but
We'll see.
That's the epitome of failing up, maybe.
maybe.
Falling forward.
But it's the Raiders.
I mean,
so-
it's commonplace in DC, so it doesn't surprise me to see somebody out
That's
of
very
there.
true. Very, very true.
Speaking of other DC news, the Dan is putting one of his $48 million estates up for sale.
Wow.
Ooh, that's awful white of him.
I don't know. I don't know if that means he's really selling the team or whatever.
I think what he's doing is he's raising money for bail and for attorneys for the things he's going to be facing here soon.
Couldn't hurt. Giant safety Julian Love says Nick Sirianni, not good. Anyone could coach the Eagles and win.
Well, he's probably not wrong, but Sirianni's beloved by his players.
So one of the things they talked about on that is people show up to work out at 6 a.m. Now, these guys don't have to show up then. They choose to.
They absolutely love Sirianni.
Funny thing that I didn't know before this was Sirianni was the wide receivers coach for the Chiefs and was let go when Andy Reid came in.
Correct.
Thought that was kind of
And
interesting.
he has a chip on his shoulder, supposedly, for Andy Reid letting him go. Even though it was done compassionately and professionally, he still has a chip on his shoulder.
Speaking of the Chiefs, McCole Hardman back to IR. Shocker. Definitely not coming back to the Chiefs unless he's basically free. And then CEH is going to be activated and allegedly play this week.
Woohoo! Who cares?
Just interesting. Joe Mixon charged with misdemeanor aggravated menacing. I didn't know this was a thing against a woman, and then the charges dropped the next day.
And as Tobin's doing in the background,
Writing a check.
yep, making it rain on that woman.
Well, Joe Mixon did get paid, so he's definitely has the money to do it. And then finally, I almost wore his jersey, but pour one out for my homie, AJ Green, has announced his retirement.
He was actually retired before, but now he's actually retired.
He is officially retired.
There we go. Even though he was unofficially retired last year. A couple of points. Tennessee today made some coaching changes. We promoted within for the offensive coordinator. We also hired the first female coach in our team's history to be the defensive line coach. Interesting hire. I think she was in Tampa Bay last year as an assistant. Now she's the official defensive line coach in Tennessee.
Okay.
Along, we've made some other changes, but they're minimal, and who really cares?
Awesome. Do we want to stop for the break here, or we want to run through a little salary cap stuff, draft stuff?
Totally up to you guys. What do you want to do?
Well, we take a break here, then we'll come back and finish up. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Works for me. After you've listened to Warsqared and have your lineups locked in for the week, we invite you to go over and check out 3 Dogs and a Dude. It's a podcast inspired by 3 crazy rescue dogs and their dude who like having conversations with interesting people. You never know who might pop into the studio as a guest, and we guarantee some laughs. Check out 3 Dogs and a Dude wherever you get your podcasts. Indian Media Productions is your one-stop shop for all of your media creation needs. Whether it's producing a podcast like the one you're listening to, or maybe you just need some video for your social media and websites, sales and promotional videos, or even TV commercials, we've got you covered. Check us out at IndianMediaPro.com.
So we're jumping back in here. We're really talking about the only thing that's going to go down within probably before we record next time is the Raiders are going to cut Derek Carr.
Or trade him, depending upon what they can get in return if anybody will.
I mean, he's got a no trade clause, though. He's got them by the short hairs in a big way right now.
But he can waive that and get a new contract with who he goes to as a point. That way he gets to kind of choose where he goes, but the team also gets a cap-friendly deal from him.
Well, they've basically allowed in the past week, they've allowed him to talk to other teams. Now, he met with Tampa, and he met with...
Nolans.
Was it New Orleans?
He met with Nolans.
So he's meeting with a couple teams. A lot of the things, and the reason that it's been theorized that they hadn't let him explore this earlier was it's kind of like, we want you to come play for us, but why don't you just get released? Because if you get released, we don't have to give up a draft pick even if it's a fourth or a fifth, that's still potentially an offensive lineman or a safety.
If they get a fourth or fifth, I'm going to be severely surprised. It'll be Derek Carr and a seventh for somebody for a sixth.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Then why would the team make the trade?
To keep somebody else from getting in because they want Derek Carr. You're talking about the QB tag is $32 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's less than what he'll be on their books for.
The Raiders books?
On the Raiders books he'll be on for $40 million.
On the other team's books he'll be on for the league minimum.
31 or whatever.
Yeah, when I get him released, sign him to a new contract, and the only way he's going to get traded is like a sixth and Derek Carr for a seventh. Or Derek Carr and a seventh for a sixth.
I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah,
I don't think the Raiders will make that deal.
Well, the Raiders wanted him to extend the deadline because he's a February 15th.
Yeah, and
if he's on the roster on February 15th, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
They owe him $40.4 million.
And he said, "Peel the banana."
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. Right. So they wanted him to extend that. He said, "No, that's not my best interest." I loved his quote when they asked him about the skills competition. The guy asked him, he said, "Have you ever been this hot throwing a football?" He says, "Obviously not. That's why I'm going somewhere else."
That's all right.
As he's wearing NFL branded gear.
Right. I'll tell you what, there are several teams I can think of that would take Carr. New Orleans, Tampa, the Jets, Tennessee provided they could draft draft a young quarterback. Carr should provide they could draft a young. Indianapolis should provide they draft a young quarterback who can develop over the next 2 or 3 years.
He wouldn't be horrible in San Francisco. Think about the weapons there.
San Francisco would be good for him. You pick a team that needs a quarterback. Arizona for a year or two.
I mean, I'll tell you, and we've talked about this a little, but Houston, I know you say his brother's legacy there tarnishes the water and the well there too much, but god dang, you bring him in there for a couple of years, you use that number 2 pick for one of those stud D linemen, you're suddenly a lot more competitive.
Or they trade the number 2 pick away for the number 7 pick.
Well, and the other thing you're talking about there are 3 or 4 teams in the top 10 that want a quarterback.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we know it's a lottery and we know it's a total gamble on who's going to be good and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say there's 4 right now that are kind of projected in the top 10 as far as quarterbacks to be drafted.
Correct.
2 of them are not going to pan out.
Correct. And 2 of them are going to be, one of them is going to be great. One of them is going to be above average. One's going to be below average. One's going to fall flat on his face.
Mm-hmm. So if you know that, get somebody to go for 2 or 3 years. And on their last year, you're bringing in the guy who's going to replace him and he gets to learn from a veteran.
Yeah. And the longer they set, the more, well, I read an article about 3 months ago that's talking about quarterbacks that set and how they develop. If they basically set for the first year, more than likely the first 2 years, their chances of being above average NFL quarterback go up dramatically.
Hello, Zach Wilson.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes.
Zach Wilson is a great example here.
Who needs to set and learn from somebody.
Why not do something with a veteran quarterback in Houston, draft a bunch of players to fill out a roster, and then for that matter, next year's high second, probably in the top 10, trade that for Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things about the Titans, I'm going to go back to the Titans for a second. One of the things about the Titans, our new offensive passing game coordinator was the former quarterback coach in Houston who got let go when Levy got let go.
You had a passing game coordinator this year?
We did.
Wow.
He's now the offensive
How do you
coordinator.
get that job?
He didn't do anything.
How do I get that job?
Yeah, he's now the offensive coordinator.
Wow, that's another failing up, huh?
And as a Titans fan, I read that and I'm going, okay, Davis Mills to Tennessee makes me happy.
Yeah, that's Tannehill 2.0, I think.
Tannehill 2.0 is not bad.
I mean, it's adequate. I don't think it's going to get you where you want to be.
The problem with Tannehill is his contract is so he's one of the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks in football.
Well, that's a GM
He
who
doesn't perform that level.
couldn't project and do math.
Correct. If he would have been a number 10 or 12, somewhere between 10 and 14 contract, Tennessee can put more people on the field. They don't have that lodestone hanging around the neck. Davis Mills comes in as the starting quarterback, get rid of Tannehill, solves that issue. He's got 2 years experience and a lot more weapons that are in a better offensive line.
Yeah, maybe.
Supposedly.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're getting closer as we go forward and we get the younger generation of GMs in here, and you see it during the draft. Guys will swap draft picks
A lot more aggressively.
just because I want this guy.
Well, they are more. The GMs these days are more like fantasy football GMs.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I want this guy. Let me go pay the price to get him. And it's good. One of the
It's
things
more interesting.
Yeah, one of the best articles I've read in a long time came out about 2 weeks ago. I can't remember who wrote it. It was on PFF. No, not PFF. Pro Football Weekly, I believe is what it was on. They talked about how teams have the only teams that are successful are the ones that hit on a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, or the teams that have people on rookie deals, especially seasons 2, 3, and 4. Because at that point in time, they can afford to put people around them and they can flush the team out. And then at that point in time, unless they have a guy like Pat Mahomes or somebody like that, they're stuck with a high-priced quarterback. In fact, they're talking about the quarterback salaries decreasing over the next 5 to 10 years based upon that because they take too much of the salary cap away.
But the other thing that they talked about just today, specifically about the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes, is his contract.
Oh, it's very, very team-friendly.
His contract is more in line with the Brady contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking the most, but I'm going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
And basically what we see at the end of every year, they convert some of Pat's salary into a bonus and get him some money in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be doing this, not signing these stupid DAC deals 4 for $160
Yeah.
and things like that, because that is gonna kill the Cowboys.
Yeah, and what's going to happen eventually with, Pat Mahomes, the Piper's going to get paid at the end. When all this comes due, he's going to have like a salary cap number of $95 million. Kind of like what Tommy B does this year in Tampa. And that could be 12 years down the line.
You take that hit 10 years from now. You've been to 3 Super Bowls in his 5 years now.
You've been to 5 AFC championship games, 3 Super
Hosted
Bowls.
5 of them.
Yes.
Which has never been done.
I'll make that trade-off for 2 years of sucking really bad.
And he's got what? 5, 7, 9 more years. I mean,
he's got 12 more years.
27.
He's got 12 more years
He's
left.
got as long as he wants to really play.
I think legitimately through his 35 year. So 8 more years. Call that a Super Bowl window of 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that. How many times will you let me make that?
I'll make that trade all day long because then I got to suck for 2 years to get my salary cap back in structure, and hopefully we'll get a young quarterback during that time we can do the exact same thing with.
But you might not, because he might do the new Bobby Bonilla deal, where he's like $2 million on the Chiefs salary cap for 20 years,
and his kids inherited
100 years.
Yeah, his kids are getting.
Bobby Bonilla still has 12 years left.
Yeah, his kids will get checks from Kansas
That's crazy. I mean, but the cap is not ever going down again unless something catastrophic happens to the NFL.
Correct. But what I think we're going to see a point in time where the quarterback gets. We're going to give you 15% of the salary cap this year, 16% next year, 15% after that.
That's Joe Burrow. I think that's the one guy who's going to possibly get that.
And it's guaranteed. You get 15% of the salary cap for the next 10 years. I'd do that deal if I was a GM and had Joe Burrow.
Oh, for sure, I would do it if I had.
The problem is the guys that aren't Joe Burrow are going to want to be comparably paid in that same percentage realm. And I mean,
yeah, and that's
13% for a Ryan Tannehill is not.
Oh yeah,
good. That's not good pool.
Well, we'll take that percent.
That
would be 26 million, about 30 million this year compared to 49.
Money.
Yeah.
I'm not giving Derek Carr that
your
money.
Top 5 QBs, yes. Everybody after that
has to be able to step up and say, "I'm sorry, but the most we can give is you 8."
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that Matt Ryan's going to make possibly if he can't pass a physical, he makes $31 million this year.
Check, please.
If he can't pass it.
If he can't pass it.
If he does pass it, they cut his ass and he gets nothing.
If he does pass it, yeah, he gets like $12 million.
So Matt Ryan's out skydiving, riding motorcycles, and doing all kinds of stupid stuff right now.
I'm pretty sure he can't do that. Now,
I'm pretty sure he can't either.
Other things that are coming out of here, we've talked about before, but the thing that they're talking about in the NFL circles, it's a slam dunk, is Geno going back to the Seahawks. That's going to happen. It's going to be some sort of team-friendly deal.
Oh, yeah. And the rumor has them drafting a quarterback that they can develop over the next 2 years. So, they're expecting to be there 2 to 3 years and then have somebody else take over.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the Titans here. I'm still shocked that they're $28 million over the cap. That is
I'm
just
not,
that's
because
just ridiculous.
we paid players Bud Dupree, specifically knowing that the window was going to close in 2 to 3 years when he got there, and it has.
Yeah, but Taylor Lewan,
Yeah, Taylor Lewan, who's been injured more than he's been healthy the last 2 years.
that's for sure.
Bud Dupree, Taylor Lewan, Bob Trees, Tannehill. I went through it. I go through almost on a weekly basis and go, we're going to cut this guy, we're going to cut that guy, we're going to cut that guy.
Right.
And I can get us down to almost $70 million under the salary cap just by doing that.
Sure.
So
Now, another big thing is there's a bunch of free agents, not only with Baltimore, but wanting to come to Baltimore, that are really keeping their eye on what Baltimore does with Lamar Jackson.
he's going to be franchised and traded.
I mean, I certainly, that's the thing that I would do.
And the number one place I've been seeing lately he's going to be going to is Carolina.
Wow, wild. That is crazy.
They've always had big running quarterbacks. He qualifies in those regards. And he's not near as big as Mike as Cam was, but he's a running quarterback who can throw. He fits the profile of what the team's always had.
I could see Atlanta being in the mix there.
I would rather see him in Atlanta than Carolina because of the turf.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, he'd be a monster in Atlanta.
I think that's a better fit.
I think so too. But Atlanta supposedly is happy with who they drafted last year.
Yeah, they say that now.
Yeah, we'll see. So let's move on. Let's talk about Super Bowl.
Yeah, we can go right into the Super Bowl.
Let's go right to Super Bowl because, quite frankly, if you're in a league, a fantasy league right now, you've got very limited picks upon who you can have. The top quarterback still available is obviously Pat Mahomes, as you've got listed here.
Yep. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew, Chad Henne. That'd be the guys the way I'd put them in order of the quarterbacks that are available.
Okay, how many interceptions has Pat Mahomes thrown in his 2 Super Bowl appearances so far?
6.
4, with 3 fumbles. His passer rating is 60 in the Super Bowls.
Now remember, he had no offensive line in one of those.
I'm also talking about the game he ran for almost 300 yards backwards.
397 yards.
Yep.
Behind the line.
Laterally.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So he has a much better offensive line this time than what he did then. But I'm saying his percentage completion percentage in the Super Bowl is only 57%, which is still pretty damn good.
No, that's bad. 57's bad. If it's not 60, it's bad.
I still like his 2 games of Super Bowl experience versus no games of Super Bowl experience on the other side.
And so running backs to the left, Ivan Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott.
Don't forget Gainwell there.
Yeah, Gainwell.
Gainwell's still there.
I've got Sanders, Pacheco, McKinnon, Gainwell, then Boston Scott. Boston Scott is the most random person in the world.
He'll probably have 3 touchdowns.
He's going to have 4 carries, 3 yards, 3 touchdowns.
I am literally thinking about getting him in the Dynasty League just for those 2 games against the Giants.
Actually,
because he's guaranteed.
His line's going to be more like this. 3 carries, minus 6 yards, 3 touchdowns. Because he's going to get blown up on one of them.
How's he going to get 3 touchdowns?
4 carries, 3 touchdowns, minus 6 yards.
Math is hard.
I had it in my mind. It just didn't come out correctly.
As far as wide receivers, I go A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, then Juju, then MVS, then I go Quez Watkins.
I don't think you can go any further past the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Juju. I think that's the only 3 you can really choose at this point in time.
The only thing you don't really know how healthy Juju is, and MVS showed he could step up. I mean, he's a wild card. Quez Watkins definitely a wild card. He was a great
Robin to Kelsey's Batman 2 games ago.
Yep. At tight end, we know it's Kelsey, then Goddard. Then I go with Noah Gray. Then I go with Jody Fortson. Then I go to Jeff Stoll.
Where's the Belldozer?
Yeah,
he doesn't quite make the list, does
he might be active. I think they're going to want Fortson over him, though. I don't think they're going to have 4 guys active at tight end.
I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah, because I would think that they're going to try to keep more linebackers active and stuff like that.
But since we're in Wichita, you had to ask about the Belldozer.
Well, I mean, they have struggled on those 3rd and 4th and 1s, though, and Blake's a great option there.
Mm-hmm.
He's way better option than a Kelsey.
He's a much better option in the running back you have.
Yeah. So maybe. I don't know.
Okay. So, Tobin, you have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. when we do our predictions, you get to go first. So tell us about it, bud.
Yeah, this is as a Chiefs fan. I mean, it's kind of nice to get used to this because I was a Chiefs fan back in the Bill Kinney era, the drafting Todd Blackledge era.
Steve DeBerg.
Steve DeBerg.
I like the Steve DeBerg era.
Elvis
it wasn't
freaking
great.
Gerbach. I
Oh, come
mean,
on, he
Matt
wasn't that
Castle, Todd Haley. I mean, come on, man. So to have Pat and Andy and Kelsey, this is like summiting Mount Everest right now for a Chiefs fan. This is kind of that.
I mean, Trent Green, the Dick Vermeil, Trent Green years were good.
Great show on turf. The hurry up and let them score so we can get the ball back theory, though, which was totally 180 degrees of Marty ball. So, I mean, this is the pinnacle for Chiefs fans. I hope most of my friends that are lifelong Chiefs fans aren't taking it for granted and they're really relishing in it.
They are.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, it's just like, dude, this is like the best.
Listening to talk radio this last 10 days that I've been driving back and forth to work, it seems as though Chiefs fans have become spoiled rotten and don't understand how great they have it right now. In fact, they're saying that if Mahomes doesn't win this week, he's a bust.
Wow. I mean,
somebody actually came on the radio the other day and said, if Pat Mahomes doesn't win, he's the next Jim Kelly. I'm going,
he's already won one, so he can't be Jim Kelly.
Yeah, but Jim Kelly lost 4.
I am going to say that if we're going to make comparisons, I'm going to compare Pat to LeBron.
No.
He's going to get to a lot, but he's not going to be able to do it all by himself.
he's not going to be the Tom Brady who's maybe the Michael Jordan that's going to win damn near every time he gets there.
7 out of 10 is amazing.
10 is amazing.
10 is unbelievable.
I mean, 3 in your first 5 years is unheard of.
3 in your first 5 years. He came in, he set for 15 weeks. He came out, and immediately it was like, oh no, this guy is different.
Mm-hmm.
And then throws for 50 in his first year as a starter, 50 TDs.
Great year.
They are set up at least for the next 2 to 3 years to continue coming back to the Super Bowl and definitely coming back to the AFC Championship game.
Yes.
Do not disparage this guy. The only thing that can hurt this guy is what happened in the Jacksonville game.
A physical element.
If he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Tobin, tell us about who you taking.
Well, my heart, you know where my heart is. My heart's got that red and gold coming out of it. My head has a really hard time discounting the Eagles. I think the Eagles, if you just stack these up and go squad for squad, quarterback, I think the Chiefs win. Running back, I think the Eagles win. I don't think it's a huge win. Wide receiver core, I definitely give it to the Eagles, especially with the injuries the Chiefs have. Tight end, obviously, you got to go with Kelsey. Defense, D-line, that Eagles D-line's legit, but so is the Chiefs. I think they're kind of underrated. I mean, you saw what Chris Jones and Frank Clark, I mean, they're built for the playoffs. I'd give that probably in the big game. I'm going to give that one to the Chiefs. Secondary, I'm definitely giving it to the Eagles. We're just so young. I love where our future is there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got 3 7th-round draft picks back there playing out of their mind.
Charvarius Ward was superfluous.
That's a big word.
They were willing to let him go to the 49ers, who immediately grabbed him.
Yeah. To make room for these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like where they're headed. I'm going to stay with it. I picked the Chiefs early. That was my pick going into this thing. I'm going to stick with them. I love that we're underdogs. I love Andy Reid getting ready for a big game.
Who's the MVP?
If we're going to win, it's going to be Pat.
Okay.
Hands down.
Who's going to be the not the greatest of all time, but the GOAT of the game, the one who has a bad game and lives it down for the next year?
I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I think if we're going to win this game, Pat's going to play. He's going to have to play great. But I think if we're going to win this game, Spagnuolo is going to have to get into Jalen Hurts' brain a little bit. We've got to. The recipe is simple. We've got to get out and get ahead and make him throw the ball more. If we can take the run game, the play action game out of the equation, I really like our chances. If we get behind and we're throwing the ball every time and they can pin those ears back, we're going to be in trouble. It's going to be a long day. I think it's a field goal game either way. I don't think this is a blowout.
Well, Kansas City hasn't lost a game by more than 4 points in the last 36 games. So there is that. Tom, who you taking?
Well, let's hit a couple of things that Tobin kind of talked about there. So, and I saw this on Twitter, so give it the proper respect that deserves. But it listed what do the Chiefs have?
Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes. What do the Eagles have? The better defensive line, the better offensive line, the better wide receivers, the better pass defenders. Kind of just like what Tobin said there.
100% accurate. The best tight end is
still Kelsey.
The best receiving core, including tight end, is still Philadelphia.
Who's got the best kicker? Because I think that may be what it comes down to.
Well, that depends. I would say from 40 in, Elliott is better than Butker. But if you're talking about it's over 40 and there's any type of crunch time on it, I want Butker.
I got the guy who's been there.
I mean, one of the things I always tell Ellie hates Butker because he misses extra points and he misses cheap field goals. I said, but the thing is, look at him every time from 50. Bang!
53 at the gun, it's money.
Right down the middle.
You can put an X up there and he'll hit it.
No, you can just put a center up right there and he's going to ring the damn bell every time.
Exactly.
And
extra point, he might miss it by 30 yards.
I'll always go back to this. We went up for the Monday night game. Alex Smith's returned to Kansas City as a member of the Redskins. We come in there. It's Butker's first game. And I'm like, oh, I just saw this guy got picked up by the Chiefs. I want to see what he kicks like. And he was kicking into us. We were at the club level and in the end zone. He was kicking to us.
Rich guys.
I know.
And these
Must
guys,
be nice.
Well, I mean,
baller.
I had
back when you had hair.
Ex-wife money.
No, that's right. Yeah, the ex-wife and I and Troy went up there, and all the people around us were like, "We're gonna really give Joe a bunch of problems for selling the seats to a Redskins fan," but he is kicking balls from 50 yards out, and they're 3/4 away up the net.
Oh yeah,
I mean, just bombing them, and I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, I saw him one step it from 50 yards.
Yep,
one step. Taking?
He's got a monster leg.
Yeah.
I've got to go with the Eagles here. I think it's going to be closer than what we think, but 69-14 is the two playoff games for the Eagles.
Who did they play, though?
The Giants, and they beat up the 49ers. It's still 69-14.
They beat a 49er team without a quarterback.
And they beat a Giants team without a quarterback.
Well, figuratively,
for all intents and purposes.
Figuratively, yes.
They have not given up a QB hit or a sack since what,
Christmas?
week 17?
Well, they didn't have to run the ball after the second quarter of the NFC Championship game. They didn't have to throw the ball. Yeah.
But
I mean,
they faced Dallas, they faced the Giants, they faced the 49ers. Those are all good teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving up sacks or hits.
So you're taking the Eagles.
It makes it a lot easier.
Who's the MVP?
If the Eagles win, it's either going to be one of three guys.
You got to pick one.
I'll pick Jalen Hurts because if they win, it'll probably be Jalen Hurts. But I could see if Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown has a 202 or 203 game, they're going to get it.
Okay, who's going to be the not the great, but the GOAT?
That's a lot of thinking.
You can hear the wheels turning.
He needs some WD-40.
I'm not going to put it on Pat
together
because Pat's going to do everything that he can. That he can possibly. If the Chiefs aren't competitive, it's probably going to be because of somebody on the offensive line missing blocks, not getting it. I'm going to guess that might relate back to Orlando Brown.
Okay, so Orlando Brown's going to be the bust of the game.
Maybe. I mean,
that's interesting because he's playing for a check now.
Oh yeah, he's definitely playing for a check. He's playing for
if there's motivation, then a stage for that. This is it. So that'll be interesting.
But those are the matchups. I mean, we need to really look at the offensive line versus Philly's defensive line, because if they don't get Hassan Reddick blocked, he might be the star of the game. He might be the MVP. If he puts 5 sacks up on the board, he's going to be the MVP.
I'll take the under. And how much will you let me put on that one that he's going to lay 5 sacks?
I mean, it's going to take a monster number like that.
Can I get on that action?
Right.
That's the only way he's going to get an MVP type thing.
Okay, so you got the Eagles. He's got the Chiefs. So I get to be the tiebreaker here, right?
You taking the Titans?
No, they're not
Titans
there.
by $1 million?
Yeah, that's what we'll go with. No. You know, there's one factor of this game that you've got to stop and really think about a lot.
Who wins the coin toss?
No.
I did bet on who would score first today, though.
The Eagles are the best team in the game. They have the best offensive line. They had the best defensive line. They had the best defensive secondary. They had the best receivers in the game. If we add those points up and give 10 per position group, they've got 10, 20, 30, 40 points at that point in time. But what position controls the game? What position you have to have play at in order to be able to go forward? Quarterback position.
Well, Jalen Hurts was the MVP until he got hurt in week.
Yeah, and 14. Now the MVP is Pat Mahomes. So if we give the Eagles 10 points for each position, we give the Chiefs 9 points for each position. It's 40-36. Quarterback's got to be worth at least 20 points. Pat Mahomes is worth 20 points. That puts Jalen Hurts at 19, 18. Add the points up, the Eagles are still ahead on points.
Are you a boxing judge? Because I feel like that's where this is going. Are we going to have a split decision or what?
I'm trying to do all the math in my head, and I'm wondering where
I've run out of fingers and toes over here.
So the at this point in time in my mind, I'm going the Chiefs have 56 points. Eagles have 58 points.
God, I hope that's the score. That'd be
exciting. The one thing I point back to, and Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl is a pedestrian or an average quarterback. 57% completion, 7 turnovers in 2 games, QB rating of 60. So let's make him and Hurts a toss-up at this point in time because we have no idea what Hurts is going to do. The whole thing comes down to is, can the Chiefs get home on Hurts? And if they can, that's going to dictate the game.
Consistently, right.
Hurts is not going to be able to be. It's going to take him out of the run game, as Tom said. Going to make him pass the ball more.
Yep.
Yeah, they got to take away Jalen Hurts' scrambling. If they take away Jalen Hurts' scrambling, that really hurts the Eagles' offense.
And that's Nick Bolton. If Nick Bolton and Willie Gay can spy him and take that away.
Mm-hmm. But with the Eagles' offensive line?
Yeah, but you got to remember, they're not at full strength either. You got Lane Johnson dinged.
Yep.
You've got their other tackle or guard that's got the elbow that they say is going to play, but
both as guards. Landon Dick.
How long is he going to play?
2 weeks of healing time is a lot in the NFL.
Yeah, but there's a lot of big dudes, and 2 weeks only covers so much.
I'm doing the math here,
big man,
and I'm trying to go. Can we have a tie? Nope. Can't have a tie.
Nope. Eventually, we won't.
We know it's going to be close because the Chiefs aren't going to get blown out. And so, who do you trust more to win the game for you, Mahomes or Hurts?
Andy Reid.
And then the coaching factor. Andy Reid's been there, done that, got the T-shirt, got the shot glass, and the hamburger.
The other thing that you've got to look at, one of the things that they've been bringing up the past couple of days, is look at what Spagnuolo has done historically with his defenses. I mean, remember, they shut down the highest scoring team in history at that point, the 2007 Patriots.
Mm-hmm. They did. But what won that game for them wasn't the defense. It was the helmet catch from the wide receiver.
I don't know. I think I'd argue that it was the defense because
they were only in that position because of the defense.
They were in the position because of that defense.
14 points on the night for the Patriots.
But that head catch, the helmet catch is what won the game for them, put in position to kick the field goal and win. So given all these factors, I'm going.
Short story long.
I don't know who's going to win the game, but I'm tired of choosing against the Chiefs. I've chosen against the Chiefs more than YouTube combined, and how'd that work
There's
out for
plenty
me?
of room. Come on over. We got room.
I think this is a career-defining game for Pat. I think Pat comes. The reason why I say that, because if he comes out and he plays like he has the last 2 games, people are going to realize maybe the shine's not as good as what it was on Pat in these games, and maybe he doesn't perform like he should. That being said, last Super Bowl against the Bucks, the man was running for his life. 300 yards, 400 yards negative running.
397.
I'm choosing the Pats. I'm choosing Pat and the Chiefs. I think Pat's going to be the decision maker in the game of why the Chiefs win. I think this is going to be the game that Pat takes the next step forward and becomes that true superstar in the NFL, because he's going to have one of these games that he could throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns and complete 80% of his passes.
That'd be amazing.
Is this year 2 or year 3 for Jalen Hurts?
Year 3.
3.
So he's got one more year left and he has to sign a contract again.
Well, where I'm going with that is you think about Pat. Pat's first Super Bowl
Was year 2.
was year 3.
Year 3.
He sat a year, played a year, lost in the championship
Lost to
game.
the Patriots.
And then year 3, he goes and plays against the very formidable 49ers in the Super Bowl
And wins.
as a year 3. You've got a year 3 quarterback on the other side this year in Jalen Hurts. First time to the Super Bowl, bright lights, big stage,
Not
all
quite
the
as
build-up.
polished as Pat.
So how does that translate when everything, and you've got 2 weeks to scheme and cook everything up? How does that translate? Maybe he looks like Pat year 3.
But
Who knows?
one of the things about Hurts that I find very, very intriguing is when he was told he would not be the starting quarterback in Alabama, he went, great, I'll go to Oklahoma. Handled that very maturely.
Oh, yeah.
Very maturely. And last week after during the interview process, they asked him, how does it feel to be this? He goes, great as a team.
Mm-hmm.
Everything went back on the team, not the individual. It shows you how mature he is. I think this is the game that unfortunately is going to be remembered more for what Pat Mahomes does or doesn't do.
Could be.
And I think Pat Mahomes is going to come through like the star that he is, which is why the Chiefs are going to win the game in probably a last-second field goal, either made or missed, depending upon who has the ball last.
So, Chiefs fans, I just also want to bring it back. Remember that Pat had incredible throws in against the Buccaneers. 3 of them bounced off Chiefs receivers' face masks after they went through their hands that were perfectly thrown. One of them was a ball that Pat threw when he was perpendicular to the ground. Literally the most amazing throw I have ever seen
And that's
on a
why
football field.
That's why I'm choosing the Chiefs to win in a very close game with Pat Mahomes being the MVP. And the player, the person of the game that's going to lose the game for the Giants,
The Eagles.
the Eagles, I'm sorry.
I hate the Giants too. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about Giants losing, let's do that.
I think it's
That's a whole
probably going
nother
to end
show.
up being the kicker, Elliott, because he's either going to make the field goal to win or he's going to make the field goal to lose it. I don't know who's going to have the ball last, but whoever does is going to win the game on a last-second field goal, either made or missed. The GOAT, the worst player of the game, the bust, is probably going to be A.J. Brown.
Think they'll take him away, huh?
No, I think that given of what they have, they're going to go after Hurts and put pressure on Hurts. They're going to run blitz. They're going to stop the run, make him beat him with the arm and put as much pressure on him as they can. A.J. Brown's going to get frustrated. And he's going to end up blowing up and saying something stupid. And on the sidelines, it's going to be one of these things that he ends up just looking like he's the worst player of the game.
Yep.
I hope not. I hope he has a great game.
Yeah,
He has that diva personality as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
In this game, if he doesn't get the ball, it's going to be one of the ones he could blow up and become really ugly.
little Stephon Diggs blow up.
Yeah. But I think this game is going to be the game that defines Pat Mahomes going forward more than anything else. And I think he's going to come out acing this test.
Yeah, I mean, general rule of thumb for me is anytime Pat Mahomes is on the field, I'm picking the Chiefs. You can just take that to the
Man,
bank.
I've lost too
For the
many games
next
this year picking against the Chiefs.
5-10 years.
And it could be this. I mean, it's the same. The Peyton Manning, the Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not betting against Tom Brady. Period. I don't care.
Yeah.
Once we get to the playoffs, I'm not betting against him.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't care what team he's on.
I think this is going to be probably one of the best Super Bowls to watch in the
I hope
history of the
so.
Super Bowls, because you have two teams that are very evenly matched. Because even though we've given the Eagles for the core position groups, not by a whole hell of a lot. And you could very easily have another outstanding performance by Chris Jones that makes where they're the best defensive line. And Chris Jones is big enough and bad enough where he could take the game over and put pressure on Hurts. If they do, Chiefs win going away.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens. I just don't think.
But
I just don't think that I don't think the Chiefs match up well with the Eagles.
But the Chiefs have the one thing the Eagles don't, and that's Pat Mahomes. And I think Pat Mahomes is going to be that stellar of a player in this game and make this the point in time where he takes that, if he has to, takes that final step to become spoken of like a Joe Montana, those types of caliber quarterbacks.
I think the Pat Mahomes is the thing
he's
that
already there. But Pat Mahomes is already he's literally already a Hall of Famer.
If he goes 1 or 2 Super Bowls, people are going to be talking about he can't win the big one, just like we do with LeBron. If he goes 2-1, we're going to be going, he's got 2 wins. That's better than
Peyton Manning was 2-2 in Super Bowls.
I don't disagree.
He's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time.
But Mahomes there's something about Mahomes that expectations are higher. Because
there's no way.
Pat Manning,
Mahomes was not a Heisman Trophy candidate. He was not the first pick in the draft.
Because Peyton Manning had to get past Tommy B. And he didn't most of the time. Therefore, Tommy B, he was not looked at like he's that quote-unquote great player. He's great, but he's not that next level player like Tommy B is.
Expectations were never higher than they were for Peyton Manning.
No, expectations were much higher on Tommy because we knew he wasn't going to get past Tommy B most of the time.
So I just looked up the Eagles' schedule this year, and they've been great. I mean, they started hot.
Mm-hmm. They didn't play a lot of great.
But as I roll through this, I don't see a quarterback there outside of maybe Rodgers in Week 12. That is what I would call a game-changing quarterback. They've played nobody to this level of what Mahomes is going to bring.
Probably the most talented quarterback they played this year at this point in time in their career was Trevor Lawrence.
No, because he really wasn't Trevor Lawrence yet then. And they played that game in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
So that's not a good comparison there.
Who's better as far as quarterback? Dak?
Yeah, Dak in Dallas. That was the highest scoring. That was one of their 2 losses.
I could buy that, but I said just Cal at this point in time.
Gardner Minshew. I mean, if they have a healthy Jalen Hurts in that game, Philadelphia boat races. I think they win by 14.
Possibly.
Maybe 20.
You think they put up 50?
I think they could. Against Dallas. I mean, we know about Diggs. He would have been toast against. I mean, I think Minshew had 271. I think Hurts could have had 371.
But looking at schedules, the Chiefs had the harder schedule and played a higher caliber of teams than what
for sure
the Eagles did.
And I totally agree with you that it's because of Pat Mahomes that they are able to get over these things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also nobody else is facing these D lines like this, and nobody else is countering their offensive line. They had 4 rushing touchdowns against the 49ers. I don't think the 49ers had given up 2 in a game before that.
But by that point in time, I look at that game as an abnormality because the 49ers were completely demoralized by having to have Christian McCaffrey.
Their defense was on the field the whole second half.
Yeah, but they had 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they were also at that point in time going. They were
4-string quarterback after the first series.
And at that point in time,
that's short of you running you out at quarterback, Tommy.
Right.
And you get demoralized quickly.
I mean,
by no means am I discounting what the Eagles did because they were phenomenal. The Eagles have the best running game. They have the best offensive line going into this game. The reason why I picked the Chiefs to win this game is solely on one person and one person only, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but I also there's no pressure on Pat.
Oh, Pat has all the pressure in this game.
Yeah, there's no pressure because it's not going to be whether or not Pat doesn't step up in this. if it does, he cannot throw the ball better than he did against the Buccaneers.
I agree, but who's the person who's taking all the heat for the loss in that game?
The offensive line. It's sure not Pat.
Well,
I mean, not when you say he ran around for 397 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
But he is now because people are going, well, he lost. He's won one, lost one. If he loses two and only wins one, then he's not going to go down as one of the greatest. He will go down as one of the greatest, but not one of the quote unquote greats of the game.
Yeah, I don't, because Peyton was 1-2.
The thing that still sticks out to me, though, when I look at this Eagles schedule, I mean, they started out fast because their schedule sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And then week 10 happened. And maybe that's the team that shows up in Phoenix. That's what I'm hoping for. Week 10, let's do it.
But it's going to be a good way you look at it.
Commodes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
It should be a great game.
Now, that is a great example, because what happened in that game, the Commodes defense showed up.
Mm-hmm.
If the Chiefs can get that kind of defensive performance where they're getting them off the field and they get a defensive score, that's a problem, because now you've taken Philly out of their play action game and you've put them into a drop back game.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put them in a drop back game, the defenders know where to run to.
And the way you do that is run blitz to keep the blitz there, and then you get at the quarterback at that point.
Well, the Frank Clarks and the Chris Jones of the world are really good at getting to a spot.
Right.
And if you can get out of, I mean, like I said, if the Chiefs can get out to a lead and change the dynamic of what get the Eagles out of character of smashing you, which is what they want to do, and where they've got to change that mix and it goes 60-40 pass game, I like our chances. If they get out early and they're able to just hammer, we're in trouble.
If they get into that situation where they run 4 rushing plays, they're on 2nd and 2 and can take a deep ball shot to Devonta Smith or to A.J. Brown and hit that, the Chiefs are in trouble.
Yeah. And for the record, Devontae scares me way more than AJ right now. That type of receiver has given the Chiefs trouble for years. That really elusive, quick, kind of the Tyreek Hill, if you will, of the world. So he scares me more than AJ Brown right now.
AJ Brown, I equate him more to a Devontae Adams who smoked the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, and he would have had 2 more touchdowns in the game in Las Vegas if he wouldn't have dropped them.
Yeah, I think AJ's a little more. He's a bigger,
He's a lot bigger.
He's way more physical than Devontae.
Yeah. But he's that same type of go downfield, catch the ball 40 yards downfield, and run it the last 30 and in the end zone.
Yeah. We'll see how our rookies hold up back there.
Ooh, I'm excited. Can't wait for the game.
And with that, we'll be talking about winners and losers next week.
Wait. We got one more thing. There's 3 bets I need to get you guys picks on before the game really even starts.
Okay.
National anthem, over or under 206.
Over.
I'm going to go under.
Chris Stapleton, I'm going over.
Okay.
Coin toss, head or tails?
I'm going with tails.
I'd go with tails.
Tails never fails. And the third one, is the opening kickoff a touchback or a return?
Touchback.
100% a touchback.
I think it's a return. All right. Now we got it. Now you can wrap it up.
All right, we'll wrap it up. We'll have the Super Bowl on Sunday. Come back next week and talk all about it. And then we're going to start our off-season stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun there.
A lot of listening to Tommy talk.
Be well. Be safe.
Lots
drive
of
carefully.
talking.
Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs.